All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to come today. I'm very excited to be back here in Seoul, here with the Maker Collective. So I want to talk a little bit about the future of product development. In the past, we were taught that if you want to build something, you need to know how to code. The people who had the power to shape the future were people who knew how to code. And as all of you know, this is changing. What took months now ships in days, and what once required deep technical skills is now accessible to anyone, not just engineers. And what this has meant is that the roles have started blurring as well. In the past, you had designers, PMs, and developers. They were handing off to each other. And today, you have much more overlapping roles. And in the future, we expect more of these roles to blur. We even saw some of this happening in our AI survey that we ran earlier this year. Even compared to 2025, we had 44% of developers who were designing, and now 60% of developers are designing. And even more dramatically, with designers, last year we had about 21% of designers developing. We have almost double that developing this year. So it's really interesting to see. And so all of that is real progress. But this way of working brings some very important new problems and challenges. So I want to talk about some of them. So the first problem I want to talk about is something that we're calling new silos. Silos that AI is introducing, especially in today's way of working. So let me explain what I mean. Many of us are used to working with agents now, and often we're going to very deep conversations with them, and the agent helps us make our ideas better. And every iteration, the AI encourages you, the agent helps you pursue your idea, pushes you, and finds the best possible version of that idea. And so deep conversations like this is becoming more and more common. But what actually is happening is that AI is taking your current idea and it's bringing it to the best possible version of it. Right? It's almost like climbing a hill climbing. Right? And it's helping you get to the top of the hill. And that's what happens when you keep iterating with AI. The problem, though, is that there are many other hills that could be taller. And in optimization, we talk about local hill climbing, this idea that you're climbing a hill and you think you're getting better and better, but there are much more globally optimal solutions that are around you. And what we see is that AI helps you go further on your current hill, but it doesn't always tell you about the other hills that are around you. And this is how many people are starting to use AI, where they're ending up in these silos and these tunnels. They're going deeper and deeper because they're working with AI that just encourages them and tells them that the current idea is great. And so this is what happens, right? You're talking to your agent, maybe it's a coding agent, and you're going deeper and deeper in one direction, climbing your own hill. But the problem is actually that this is happening with all of your teammates. Each of your teammates is going deeper and deeper on their own ideas, in their own hills. And what ends up happening is people are pursuing very different ideas, right, in very different directions. And when I talk to leaders in different companies, they all talk about this problem, which is that everyone is more powerful. They're building more powerful things with the help of AI, prototypes. But they're all working alone with their agent, and they're no longer sharing as often or as early. And this is because a lot of prototypes you build with AI are actually very hard to share. Maybe you're writing code on your local machine, and in order to share it, you actually have to check in your code, and you need to publish your prototype somewhere. Or for some people, that's too much work, so they actually take a video recording of their prototype, and then share that video with the rest of their company. And because this takes a little bit more work, people are sharing these prototypes less often, or they're sharing it much later in the process. And the problem also is that getting feedback on these prototypes has become harder, right? where people are creating a lot of things in different areas like videos and code. Your feedback ends up in different places that's further away from where you created the prototype. So the feedback loops get slower as well. And so what I mean by the new silos that AI creates is this. Every single person is able to move much faster today because of the help of AI, working with agents. But what's ended up happening is everyone's working alone and everyone's working quickly but in very different directions, and it's easy to get siloed and not get aligned, right? AI has helped make individuals faster, but it hasn't always made teams move faster. So now I want to talk about the second problem, which I like to call the quiet surrender. And this is something that I think is more dangerous, more subtle, because you can be the one it's happening to and not notice. So let me tell you what this is all about. So AI trains on all the information on the internet, right? Everything that has been ever made, every trend, every style, every pattern. And what's actually happening is models learn from these common patterns and returns common patterns as well. And so that's why when you ask for anything, something reasonable always comes back instantly. And the problem is that it always pulls towards the center, right? The most common answer, the most expected one. And in machine learning, there's a term for this. It's called in-distribution. It means statistically typical. And so it'll always give you back something inside the range, safely inside the range of what already exists. And over time, more and more work will be average and inside of this distribution. And so when you ask AI for a logo, or maybe you ask AI for a design, you'll get something very typical, right? Something that is expected, something that you're not surprised by. Or if you ask for a pitch deck, right, you'll always get the same layouts that everyone's seen before. And none of it is wrong, right? And often it's very competent, but that's the problem. It's just good enough right away every time. So it's just very easy to accept it. And everyone actually starts doing this. Everyone starts accepting what AI gives, and everyone's work actually starts to look the same. And we're actually seeing this in our data as well. When we look at all the apps that have been published, this is on the iOS App Store, you'll see the white line. This is the number of apps that are published to the App Store every single month. And especially starting in 2025, you see that it's growing exponentially. And it's growing exponentially because more and more people can create apps now with the help of AI. But the light blue line is showing apps that are used frequently. And this is actually not growing. It's remaining flat. And so this is the irony that there's more and more apps, more and more software being created, but not software that people are loving to use. And what this shows me is that differentiation is more important than ever before. Right? It's very hard to compete for everyone's attention when everyone is making stuff that is looking the same, right? And everyone is able to create some basic looking things that look average. So what do I mean by quiet surrender? It means that everyone starts accepting the output of AI, thinking it's good enough, and we stop thinking, right? We start becoming passive. We start to just accept or just choose from option is A, B, or C. And that's the quiet surrender. And without noticing, you'll slowly start giving up control, slowly start to lose the will to push further. So how do you fight both of these problems, the new silos and the quiet surrender? Well, I think it takes two things, tools and culture. So let me talk a little bit about both of them. Let me start with tools. You need tools to help you push your ideas further and also prevent people from being inside of silos in the first place. And so at Figma, we see that as our responsibility, especially as you build with AI. And we believe the infinite canvas, the one shared space everyone can see and work in, is more important than ever before. And instead of working alone with your own agent, it's you, your agent, your teammates' agents, all in one place. And instead of things that are scattered across private chat windows that nobody else can see, everyone remains on the same page. That's why the canvas is a really important, powerful place. And we apply that philosophy to something like code. And so here's the idea. When AI writes code today, it usually lives inside a private chat window, and the back and forth is something that only you can see. And if a teammate wants to know what changed or why, they have to ask you, or they have to scroll through your chat history themselves. And Code Layers, which is something that we launched recently, puts code directly onto the canvas. And so people can actually copy the code, they can riff on it, they can comment on it. And the idea is that code suddenly becomes a material that is great for design that you can share early rather than waiting for people to publish it or prototypes that end up on people's local machines. We've also added more native creative materials to the canvas, like shaders and motion, 3D transforms, and more. And this actually connects back to the quiet surrender. And before, if AI gave you something, your only option was to accept it or to re-prompt and hope that it'll give you something better. And we believe that having these materials on the canvas will help you push on those ideas more. If AI gives you back something and you want to iterate on it, now you have the materials to do so. Of course, you can ask AI to help, but you can also go in and control that. And that creative control is really important and a really important part of our philosophy as we think about giving tools that make it easy to actually push on an idea. But tools aren't the only thing, right? Tools alone won't fix these problems. What's really important is also to have a culture that pushes, a culture that encourages everyone to push forward. In order to explain this, I want to explain a little bit about why it's actually easy to accept and quietly surrender. So this is the trap. Many people see something that AI gives back, and it's much better than something that they were able to make in the past. Maybe a year ago, you weren't able to make the thing that AI was able to help you make. And therefore, you think it's so much better, right? And you can just accept that. Right? It's very common human instinct. But the problem is that everyone is able to make something that is much better than what they were able to make a year ago. And so in some ways, this is the new average, right? What you think is better than a year ago is obviously just the new average, right? The new local maximum. And so when you think about a culture of how do you actually make it easier for people to not just fall into the trap of just accepting it, but rather push further, I think it's really important not to ask the question of, is this good, right? Because by definition, everything that AI will create will be good enough, right? And rather, really ask the question, is this the most obvious answer? And I think the culture that is asking this question, pushing people to ask, is there something that, is this something that is expected, right? Can we come up with something that is unexpected, something that is outside of the distribution? Those are the teams that are going to win. So this is an important part of changing the culture of the kinds of questions that you ask when you're reviewing a design, for example. So in summary, if we want to solve the problem of new silos or the quiet surrender, you need tools that can help you push further. You need tools that can help you de-silo the work. And you also need a culture that encourages this kind of pushing. And we are going through one of the most transformative times of our careers. AI is an incredibly powerful force, but it's very easy to let AI just happen to you, to just accept what it hands you and move on. And the teams that pull ahead are going to be the ones that push back, that push on each other so the best ideas emerge. And at Figma, we're doing everything we can to give you the tools and materials to push your ideas further. But we all need everyone here to choose to keep pushing. And I hope today you can learn from each other and be inspired to push further and raise the ceiling of what's possible. So thank you so much. And I'd now like to pass it on to Samantha, who will tell you more about specifically what we're building to do this.